So here we are again discussing don't, and this is one that you brought to the table, Claire, which is don't sell.
Absolutely.
So I've looked at this and thought, whoa, okay, I'm looking forward to discussing this one.
I actually have a slight bit of hay fever from my cat. People will be saying, oh, she touched her nose, which means she's lying, just in case that comes up. Anyway, so don't sell. I spend a lot of my time encouraging, persuading salespeople to just stop selling. They think they have to go and sell. And as soon as they think they're a salesperson or in a sales job as well, their job is to sell. And therefore, if you have the mindset, it's my job is to sell, it's basically, you think the selling mindset is great. If you've got a selling mindset, then you must be really persuading the customer to buy your products or services. When you're selling them, you think it's really good because I know all about my product and I've got to tell my customer all about my product as well. And you also think that if I'm focused on selling and the sales process, then I'm going to be much more focused on getting them to the close. So it's like getting them to the close quicker. So I'm much more effective and more efficient as a salesperson because I get them to the close quicker, and therefore I become a greater salesperson. But I think all of that thinking is flawed.
Okay. So you're defining, just so I'm understanding it, selling in that kind of almost like an old-fashioned gift of the gab. If I talk them round, and persuasion is a way of getting somebody to do something they might not even want to do, that's how you're using the word sell in this instance.
Yeah. And even with people who are consultative salespeople, sometimes they fall into this selling trap, which is, and managers do this a lot. They'll say, okay, this month we need to sell X, Y, Z, or X quantities of X, Y, Z. And everyone goes into selling mode, which is really trying to almost, I think, selling mode is almost where you're trying to force the customer to buy something they may or may not want. So it's sort of that old version, old fashioned way of selling, is it's a sort of the one-hit wonder, a bit of the ABC mentality, always be closing, good old Glenn Gross, an awful film, but that's the mindset. But actually, because we have targets as salespeople, it's really hard not to have a sales mindset, even if you're trying to be consultative. And so again, with the mindset stuff that I love, it's trying to get people to think, actually, rather than being sales-led, think about being more client-led. It's not about the sales process. It's about thinking about the customer's process, because they've got their own buying process. And depending on where they are in their stage, I can then adjust what I do. So what I should be doing is aligning my sales process, my activity, if you like, to where the customer is at the buying process is. If I've got the mindset of I am in selling mode, I move them through the sales process. I don't know, develop a rapport, ask some questions, do some discovery, pitch a solution, handle objections, and close. If I go into actually what's the customer trying to do, which is they're searching for solutions, or they're recognizing they've got a problem or not. So just help them at each of those stages. And suddenly it becomes more interactive. And rather trying to persuade you or force you to buy, what I'm doing is I'm helping you to make the best decision for you. So I'm helping the customer to buy. And if we have that mindset, everything calms down a little bit. Arguably, we don't get through the sales process as fast, but our bid to win ratio improves because we have a better understanding. And the customer is not so pissed off because we've just been talking at them and trying to force them to buy something, and we go weeing again all over them.
Yeah. Really so the flaw in the thinking is that the customers have their own process. And I guess what we're seeing now is that customers are a lot more informed anyway. There's huge amounts of information out there, and they're using that, and they're moving themselves through a process because they are sentient human beings and can work a lot of stuff out themselves. And when they're involving you, it's because they're perhaps looking for options and looking for help with a specific thing.
Absolutely.
You're trying to drag them back in this process, and that's just going to frustrate them. It's going to annoy them.
Yeah.
And you're telling them stuff. You go, we know this anyway. You're just telling me stuff I already know, and I know more actually.
Yeah, and not only that, in addition to that, of course, the customer may well be as much as 60% through their buying process before they even see you as well. So they've got all that. So don't go back to the whole basics of it. See where they are and where there is and what help they want. Sometimes they just want, as you say, options, pros and cons. Help them with that. Now, of course, you can position your products and services within that. Truthfully, transparently, of course, because all we're trying to do is for long-term sales, consultative selling, strategic selling, what do you want to call it? It's about helping the customer to buy one of the best solutions for them. And if you can justify that, that's what you should be doing. And if it's not the right solution for them, and if you can't justify why your product or service is a bit more money or a bit whatever, then actually it's not the right one. You should be able to justify it. It's worth it because pros and cons.
Well, it's actually just made me think of something else as well. Let's say you're successful in what you set up to do, to go through that sales process and move them to there, to there, to there, to there. You just get them to the end point faster. So you're then conducting an exercise of objection handling more than likely,
yes.
because you've not done some of the other elements correctly, and you're going
Absolutely.
through all that old-fashioned cushion or whatever types of means you use. So you become a victim of doing what you wanted to do anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it. You're absolutely right. So it's, if you push them through too quickly, all they end up doing is saying yes, but it's too much money, but it's that. Whereas if instead you say follow where they are through their buying process, make sure you have demonstrate your understanding of what it is they want exactly, and challenge them within that understanding, of course, as well. So okay, if those are some of the issues you've got, then here's some ideas. Which one do you think fits better? What are the pros and cons? How can that impact you, and so forth? And then here are some options, and here's some pros and cons. As a salesperson, I don't have to say, actually, my competitor's got a better product than I have, because obviously I'm only selling my products and services, but I can position my products and services with what they've said. So from what you've said, this is what I'd recommend, and this is why. And it needs to be right for the job, because all that anybody wants is the right solution for them. Relatively simple. The complexity is, of course, we need to understand exactly what is right in their terms and their matching. So in summary, what to do instead: remember that selling is not telling. Let's be interactive. We've had that comment before. And focus on helping the buyer to buy. And finally, align what you're doing to their buying process. Help them to buy.
Cool. And so in many ways, that is what we would understand as modern selling, is to do exactly what you've said there. Align with buyers, understand them, tell when you need to tell, ask when you need to ask, share stuff, help them. And if we do that, ironically, we are actually selling. So don't sell.
Stop selling. Do not sell, and then you will end up selling more.
Yeah. Ironic. No, brilliant. And that's really useful. That's a good bit of thinking. There's certainly got my brain going on something there.
Well, thanks a lot, Fred. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I'm off for coffee.
Cool.